Okay, I'll talk a little bit about design thinking, the lost promise of design thinking. So, 5 years ago now, I guess, maybe longer, started going to a couple different workshops and things on design thinking. This was one of them. It was a quick little exercise, and I remember this one because it was a group of mostly middle-aged guys with one 15-year-old, and he got to be in my group, and I really enjoyed working with them. If you haven't done design thinking, take a look at it, figure out at least the beginning of it. And I was really excited about it when it came out because a lot of these came from engineering schools. I worked as an engineer. I was more in analysis, but the design part was the most fun. And you always like every building things is great. Like to see people build more, have that attitude more than the analysis attitude. There's a time for analysis, and there's a time to start building. And we see a lot of people who never make that leap, that second leap. Well-educated people. So that's why I love seeing this design thinking movement when it first came out. Because I thought, man, this is, you won't have to go through all the math. We'll start to teach students more of the processing and the thinking that I picked up along the way, both, do it in labs, in school, and then beyond school, learning just how you decide about things and, the ups and downs and the experiences. That's what I hoped. So fast forward to now, and the design thinking movement, as most things, they had this great, the pinnacle of hope and the trough of despair, and I'm not sure where it's at. But in respect to schools, it's sort of settled into almost a religious sort of thing, and we see that. And so it never took on that bigger growth, width, and depth that I hoped it would as a subject. Instead, it became the mantra for how to redesign schools. And so you go in, some of you have seen this, some of you haven't. Typically, a group will go, okay, we're the redesigned school experts, and they'll go in and they'll hold a workshop, and they'll teach you this in 3 easy lessons. I'm being a little bit facetious because they do work with it, and they've tried to refine it. And I have some good friends that have made design thinking their specialty and go at it. No problem with that. It's how we've interpreted, the school movement, the rethinking school movement, in terms of a very limited amount of design. So within your classroom or within your school building or at most your school district, we're going to do design thinking. We're going to come up with a few ideas, and that's going to make our school better. It's going to make it student-centered. It's going to make it, and that's not the vision that I see. And I think that's why today you still see so many people who practice that. And a good example is our friend Grant Leishman. If I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's been a while since I talked to him. But I met him at one of those things, just like that. And I'd known of him before, crossed him many times. He produced this book and several others. Great guy. He's by trade sort of an engineer like me. Worked in the global oil business, I think. He traveled around the world developing business, and then he ended up in education, and he works as a consultant mostly and a writer. And so the way his business model works is that he gets paid by private schools and those with large budgets or groups of people who somehow came up with a large budget to go in and work with their teachers for a half day, a day, 2 days. In the case I was at, it was a 2-day thing. And that's how he makes his money. And he's raising a family on it, and more power to him. No question about that. It's that leap forward where we say that's enough. That's going to make the change for 30,000 schools and 4 or 5 million students in the high school area. And it's not. and and so what happens is these guys tend to start, they get frustrated. They go like, why isn't our model scaling? Well, because your model doesn't fit. It fits those schools and a few others with great, who just happen to stumble in, but it's not it's not a scalable model. It's not disruptive innovation by any means. It's sort of barely innovation, and I don't mean that in an insulting way, but it's sort of like the Montessori schools. That's how I think of it. It's not quite fair, but a lot of that is there, and it's not what the larger system needs. And so I feel bad for those guys and their frustration, but I also, I'm a little bit hurt by them because they've met me and they've had a chance to read my book and read my papers and ask me questions, invite me to things, and they haven't done that. So they're stuck in that frustration. Hi, Grant, and many of the others, because you just haven't tried to do what you tell other people to do. Break out of your comfort zone, explore new ways, investigate new things, try expanding your horizons. So we're waiting. Come visit us.